Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to Revelations with Rowena. I'm Dr. Rowena Winkler, and I'm so excited to be here today. I was just telling our guest, Christy, here that I'm in a really good mood. I'm super happy, and I think that just ties in beautifully with what we're going to chat about today, which is choosing happiness. Christy, thank you so much for being here.
You are so welcome. Thank you. And I guess I'm going to do a little talking happiness with Christy.
Can I just say, you are the first guest to sing back. Sing back. I do my little
How could
intro.
they not? Well,
I know, right? I
I
love
know,
this. We're
girl.
already off to a great start. I think there's been giggles, maybe some confusion. But you answered back with a singing here, a sing formation. I don't know what we're gonna call it, singing intro. But yes, thank you, Christy.
Oh,
So
you're welcome. Thank you.
with that beautiful start to this convo, usually how we start things off is to just have you share where you've come from and how you've gotten to where you are today. Tell us the story of Christy.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, Christy was born into this not very wealthy, but very, very, very happy, creative family. Like, we didn't know we were poor because we were having so much fun and there was so much love around, right? And so I went from this great environment, and my parents somehow, saved and scraped and sent me to NYU because my background is in theater. My love has always been theater. And my parents were both musicians, and that's my dad's saxophone hanging up behind me right
Oh, I
there on the
love
wall.
that. I love
And so I went to NYU and loved the city, hated the school because I was already farther advanced in my theater
mm,
training than they were giving me. And I was like, well, I'm not going to spend my parents' money. They worked too hard for this. And so I came back to St. Louis, where I live, and finished school there, and then went on to LA. Just had turned 22. Everything I owned and my dad in my Dodge Colt, which is not a very big car. And so off to LA I went to seek my fame and fortune. And I lived there for 10 years. And I was there long enough to say I worked in LA, but not long enough to become rich and famous. And so about 10 years in, uh, a lot of the people that I knew and loved were either dying. It was
mm,
like the beginning of the AIDS crisis, and
wow.
either dying from the excesses of living in LA, and of course there were drugs everywhere. LA is a
Mm,
tough town.
mm,
Or just dropping off the face of the earth, having nervous breakdowns, whatever, because
wow.
it's tough out there. And I thought, well, I'm not that different from them. Fundamentally, these are all good people who just got sucked down a path that wasn't healthy for them.
Mm,
And before I'm the next one, before my number comes up, I'm leaving. So I decided, packed, and was gone in 5 days, and ended up back in St. Louis to catch my breath. I was going to go on to New York, love New York, as I said,
mhm.
and my dad was diagnosed with a recurrence of the cancer that he'd had. He almost made it to the 5-year free mark,
Yeah.
and he was at
Yeah.
4 years and
Mm, yeah.
11 months or something, and was re-diagnosed. So I stayed here, and
Mhm.
it turned out to be the last 2 years of his life. And I realized during that time, I'm never going to get my that 10 years back that I was away from my parents. So as long as my mom's alive, I'm going to stay here with her.
Mhm.
And she was quite a bit younger than him, and so she lived a good long time. And but the last 13 years of her life, she needed a caregiver, and so I
Mhm.
kind of quit all my outside jobs, went into the house, and sat by my mother's bedside for 13 years.
Wow.
And it gives you a lot of time to think, and it gives you a lot of time to be in touch with the divine. Whatever you want to call it. You want to call it God. You want to call it the universe. I don't care if you call it the Great Pumpkin. If it's something, you believe that there's some connection with, there's some
Mhm.
purpose for us being here. There's some
Mhm.
higher power that higher intelligence, whatever. 13 years of kind of sitting by somebody's bedside, it gives you a lot of time to connect with that. And during that time, oh yeah, for like 10 of those 13 years, my mom was bedbound, and also most of that time nonverbal. So that
Wow.
gets to be a really long monologue. If you're the only one talking, it gets to be a really long monologue. So to keep her mentally stimulated, there was also always like music on in her room or the TV on. There was a TV show was aired in the middle of the night here in St. Louis called Starting Over, and it was early reality TV.
Yeah, I think I remember
And
that show.
do you?
Yeah.
I loved that show, and the concept was that these 6 or 8 women, whatever it was, all hot messes, were plunked down. Who didn't know each other, were plunked down in this mansion in Bel Air um, to work through some stuff, and they did it by being coached. And this
Mhm.
was really, I mean, since you saw it, this is like the first glimpse of coaching other than Tony Robbins
Right.
that really the world was seeing, or that I was seeing anyway. And I watched this stuff, and the 2 coaches, Rhonda Britton, who's very well known, and then also Ian Levinsant, who's really well known now, but it was kind of her first shot at TV.
Mhm.
And they were fabulous. And we got to watch coaching sessions. And then we
Hmm.
got to watch the impact that coaching had on the women. And they always graduated at the end of the season or whatever. They got them coached quickly enough that they graduated. And I thought, this is something I could do. This is something I could do. So after my mom passed away, I didn't immediately get into coaching. I just had to hit the ground running and get a job, any job, blah, blah, blah. Went through
Sure.
a few jobs, and then had one where I was selling some IT thing. I know nothing about IT, but some kind of, protect your computer if you're in a business, whatever. And so I'm selling this thing, and I went to a networking meeting. My boss said, "Okay, so I need you to do a lot of networking for this job." And there's like this group called BNI, Business Networking
Yeah.
International, and
Yeah.
they have a ton of chapters here in St. Louis. You can visit each chapter twice before they make you join. I'm not going to pay for you to join BNI, but I want you to go to every chapter and I want you to visit. So I was like dating BNI for a living, and I went to this one BNI meeting, and I got there before they did, and I don't know how, because it was really early in the morning, and that's not my time of day, but I made it, and so I'm waiting out in my car for people to start to show up, and this little bundle of amazing energy comes
Mm.
rolling down the sidewalk, and everybody wanted a piece of her. I mean, everybody did. And I was like, I need to know her. Well, she turned out to be the president of the chapter, and
Mhm.
also a life coach, and a coach
Mm.
who does training. She works with, she has a company that does coach training. And
Mhm.
so we set up a 1-to-1, which you're supposed to do. Well, instead of telling her about this crazy whatever IT thing, I'm like, how do you do what you do? How do I get to be able to do what you do? I want to learn how to do that. She said, well, I'm going to
Yeah.
have a training coming up in a little while. Anyway, we became fast friends. She's my mentor. She was my trainer. And that's how I got into coaching.
Love it.
And then there's another story about the whole happiness thing. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, just I don't even, where do I even begin? Love that you grew up in such a loving and musical and entertainment filled family, so much so that you didn't even know what you had lacked, right? Because there was just so
right.
much of that abundance there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really sorry to hear about your dad. My dad passed away from cancer in 2013, so I know how
Oh, you got that?
tough
Yeah,
that
it's hard,
can
isn't it?
be.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you were the caregiver for your mom for so long, and so many of those years where she was nonverbal. Like you said, it was a lot of monologuing and a lot of time to yourself. But how beautiful and synchronous and powerful that you watched that show and then you met this woman who ended up being your mentor. That's just
Right.
wow.
Yeah, I know. Through this crazy job that, I didn't love, but, it was better than standing in the bread line. And so I was doing it. And it, it's interesting because I do sometimes realize that when I just let the divine
Mm,
um, kind of I hand, I open myself up to receiving that the energy, the guidance, the
yes.
whatever it is, the synchronicity, the abundance that is out there in the world.
Mm,
It's kind of when I'm really open to that. Um, for me, I mentally I get this picture of like the Malibu lights, the little lights that people have along their sidewalks, just like one at a time, just coming on. You know, all you have to do is be able to see maybe the step ahead of you, so that you're
yes,
not going to step, down a stair that you didn't know was there. Whatever. You don't have to see the whole path.
right.
You just need to see where your next foot is going to fall. Right?
Yes. 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 I that beautifully said. I love that visual too, that we don't have to know, right? We don't have to know the entire journey. And oftentimes when we try to control or plan it out, it doesn't pan out that way anyway, right? That
Right.
things happen unexpectedly and our journeys become not what we had originally envisioned because of
Right.
how life
Right.
is.
There have been times, and uh, actually, one of them was just pre-COVID, and
Mm,
again, I was looking to, I was already a coach, but I also, I was a young coach at that time. I was a new coach, and when you first start out, you don't start out full time. You just don't. There's no, there's no coach store that you can go work in or anything. And
sure.
so, I had to have other employment, and I was finding it difficult at that point because, I'm not a kid. And during that time where I was taking care of my mother, like the internet happened,
Yeah.
right? I mean, yeah. So I I didn't grow up with my fingers on a keyboard. I still don't know how to do Excel very well, and probably never will, and really
No,
don't
no,
want
me
to have
neither.
to, except that, when you go out into the corporate workplace, that's
Mm,
expected. And also, deny it though they might, it's also expected that you be young. And so
yeah.
finding the right place in corporate America um, was proving to be difficult, as it always has proven to be difficult for me. And I was so frustrated. And then COVID happened, and we all shut down. And again, lots of time to contemplate, right? Lots
Mhm.
of time to listen to the divine. And who knew that the lockdown was going to last that long? But I was sort of saying, I don't get why I had come really close to a job I really wanted. They put me through like 4 interviews and
Wow.
a test and all of this stuff, and then I didn't get it, and then COVID. And I'm like, really, I thought I had that. Why? And then the words came to me, that's not your path.
Mm,
Oh, your path is the performing, which I still do.
yes.
But, again, I'm not a kid anymore, fewer roles for me. And this coaching, you now have time to put the work in to build up the business.
Hmm.
A lot of people need coaching. This is your path. Have I not shown you this well enough yet? I'm like, okay, yeah, this is my
Well, here
path.
it is. Yeah.
Okay, all right, I get it. So here I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
My coach calls it, you're getting a calling card from the universe, right? Universe is just like, all right, hello. Oh,
Let's
okay, well,
fly.
here we
Right.
go.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your coaching business. What do you do? What do sessions with your clients look like? Who are the clients that you serve? Would love to know more about that.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So my coaching business, I have taken advantage of the opportunity that was provided with the shutdown. And I I certainly was trained in a specific methodology that has at its foundation a thing called the values conversation. Actually, the company that trained me is called the values conversation.
Mhm.
Um, and the way it works is there's a questionnaire, and it's just got words that can be associated with values, like, I don't know, honesty, loyalty, integrity, tenacity, whatever.
Mhm.
A
Mhm.
lot of words. So you just mark, this one is really important to me, this one's moderately important to me, this one's not so important to me. And then from that you pick, if your top four are the most important for your personal life, and then the top four of your most important for your work life, and
Mhm.
then the the top four of your most important for your private life. So your private life
Mm.
is like your family and your inner circle and whatever.
Mhm.
Your
Mhm.
personal life is you. Like, you are a mother, but you weren't always a mother, right? You were you before you became a mother, right?
Yeah.
I was a
Yep.
caregiver. I wasn't always a caregiver. I was me before I was a caregiver. I was me after I was a caregiver. So
Mhm.
that's that section. So then based on those, then you have a conversation with your coach, and we ultimately end up with, you have an identity statement at the end of this conversation.
Mm.
Based on the your highest priorities in terms of the things that are the most important to you, the qualities in other people, the qualities in yourself, the way you treat other people, the way other people treat you, the way you see the world, the way you want to show up for the world, the way you want to influence the others. And all of a sudden you have this identity statement and a mission statement and
Wow.
a vision statement.
Wow.
And it then becomes the filter by which you
Mm.
can just make future decisions.
Yeah.
I i wept all the way through my values conversation, and it wasn't sad weeping, although some people do, because they're like, you know
Sure.
going places that are hard.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard for me. I was weeping because I was like, I remember her.
Yeah, there she
I
is.
remember her. It's the who you are, and why you're here. And
Mhm.
that starts with when you were born, when you came into the world. We
Mhm.
all came into the world with certain gifts and a purpose. I believe a purpose. And we also all come into the world a perfect 10. There's that
Mhm.
wonderful motivational speaker, and I do know who he is, but I can't think of his name right now. Who has no arms and legs? Have you seen this guy?
No, I don't.
Google. Just
Okay.
Google, after we get off of here,
Yeah.
Google motivational speaker, no hands and legs.
Okay.
Born with no arms or legs.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, Google no arms and legs. He's brilliant. He's magnificent. He's
Mm.
world renowned.
Mm.
He is so motivational. Here's a guy with no arms, no legs, no prostheses, And he is absolutely a perfect 10. In fact, he is like a perfect 25. You
Yeah.
know, he is so powerfully using the gifts that he has been given
Mm.
rather than focusing on what is missing.
Mm.
And I find that so powerful.
Yeah.
So that's where I start with my coaching clients. And then I also have done a lot of work in sort of magnetic mind. So I'm like the clinical side of coaching and also the woo-woo side of coaching, right?
Yes.
So the you know the magnetic mind sort of stuff, where you realize and take responsibility for being the predominant creator in your life.
Mm.
Now, I'm talking about the divine. Yes, I think there is a higher power creator who created me and gave me gifts and now expects me to do something with them, to make
Yeah.
something of them. And so
Yeah.
the power for that part is in me, so to decide and now focus on becoming the predominant creator of your life, or focus on creating a life you love, or
Mm.
focus on creating a life of health and vitality, or
Mm.
focus on a life where you are living your true nature and purpose. Those are the four pillars of that brand of coaching that I have also been trained in. So my coaching kind of combines the two, and I do find that ultimately, um, a lot of what I talk about, and I do this when I do public speaking too. A lot of what I talk about is happiness, and that really once we've kind of cleared a lot of the unpacked a lot of the baggage. Okay,
Mhm.
now what are you going to do with your life? Well, if you could be anything, wouldn't it be nice to be happy? And um, right? I mean,
Yeah.
kind, loving, generous, happy. Those all go together. And
Sure.
I had years ago when I was in LA, I unexpectedly met a man in a ski mask with a gun. I'm not going
Oh.
to go into gory detail, but I'll let you use your imagination. And
Mm.
in the aftermath of that,
Yeah.
um, I was very angry. I was a very, very angry person.
Yeah.
And I went on that way for a little while. And then I realized I didn't like myself anymore. I
Mm.
didn't recognize myself anymore.
Mm.
I didn't know myself anymore. And I really did not like this person I had become.
Mm. Mm.
And so I decided I need to teach myself how to be happy again.
Mm.
So what I started with was gratitude. And it was really hard because I wasn't feeling too terribly grateful for anything. But
Mm.
I set myself the challenge of just, Christy, every day, just find one thing to be grateful for. It doesn't have to be something big. It can be, oh, the roses at the bottom of the stairs outside my door are blooming today. Isn't that beautiful? I'm
Mm.
grateful for that. It gave me a moment of beauty and a moment of happiness. So I did that, all right, for a week, like one thing to be grateful for. And sometimes it was hard, but I got so I could do it. And then week two, I said, all right, let's do 2 weeks. I mean, two things to be grateful for every day. And then week three, three things to be grateful for. By the time I was finished with work week three, it was like, and I'm the one setting this challenge, right? But I'm kind of having this conversation with myself. Do I have to stop at three? No, you don't have to stop at three. Go for more. Go for as many as you see, right? And
Yeah.
so suddenly, from week three on, it was like almost this nonstop flow of
Mm.
gratitude. Well, when you are grateful for something, when you are recognizing the beauty all around you, when you are recognizing the the miracles all
Yeah.
around you,
Mm.
it's hard to stay unhappy. It's
Mm.
hard to not feel the happiness. You see what you look for.
Yeah.
And so, that worked for me. And I have to say, after my mom passed away, now I'm an orphan. It doesn't matter how old you are, when both of your parents are gone, all of a sudden you're an orphan. And the internet had happened while I was out of the workforce, and I was far behind, and I was a lot older, and all of that, and things were hard. And of course, I was also grieving very, very deeply. And I had this realization, although everybody said when I was a caregiver, you're the happiest caregiver I've ever seen. And I'm glad about that. And I wasn't happy about what was happening with my mother, but I was happy to have that time with her and be able to serve her in that way and let her know every day how loved she was every
Mm.
day.
Wow.
And so I was happy then, but when she passed and that chapter's over, it was hard, and I felt heavy again in my heart, and I went through that process again. And by
Mm.
golly, you know what? I'm kind of happy person. No, I'm a very happy person. My coach who trained me in the magnetic mind stuff once
Yeah.
described me as being the epitome of happiness, and I love that.
Love
What
it.
a lovely compliment.
Mhm.
But it started with the gratitude.
Yeah.
Um, um, I have a friend, and I have 100% permission to tell this story with
Okay.
with impunity.
Don't
Um,
need to edit it out later. Sounds
no,
good.
I have a young friend who I have been a mentor to for years, and she's kind of like the daughter I've never had, right? But she
Beautiful.
also had, she had had struggles in her life.
Mhm.
We all, everybody has struggles in their life, and a lot of hers came when she was very young, and so anyway, we were working together. We were working in showbiz. We were doing a show, and one night we had rehearsal. Rehearsal was just breaking up, and a big thunderstorm came through. So we all hunkered down, stayed where we were until it was over. So much later that night, I drove her to her car because, as tends to be the case, performing spaces aren't always in the best neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
we always had each other's backs, and I'm
Of
driving her
course.
to her car. And as we're pulling up behind her car, she screamed, "Oh my God, that tree fell on my car." And I stopped the car, and I'm looking, and I said, "Missy, I don't know what you're looking at." She said, "That tree fell on my car." I said, "What I see is that tree didn't fall on your car. That tree missed your car." And it did. It missed her by like an infinitesimal amount
Wow.
all around, but it was lying mostly right behind her car. And some of the branches were right up to the side of her car,
Sure.
but there was not one scratch
Mm.
on that car.
Mm.
But to her, even for the next few days, she took pictures of it and everything. Even for the next few days, she's posting on Facebook, "This tree fell on my car." Missy, the tree didn't fall on your car. The fact of the matter is, a miracle happened, and
Mm.
the tree missed your car.
Mm.
But emotionally, she was so
Mhm.
married to, really committed to her victimhood,
Mm.
that that's all she could see.
Mhm.
And so,
Mhm.
she and I did, of course, I'm going to coach her. I'm going to coach her through this. That woman today, and this has only been maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. That woman today has met the loveliest man. She had two kids, became a mother very young. She had two kids. He had four little girls under the age of 5.
Wow.
They got married. They had another baby together. She has 7 kids. She decided to go back to school full time to be a teacher. She's now starting her student teaching, she probably hasn't slept more than 45 years, and 45 minutes in the last 2 years. She could not possibly be happier, I don't think. They
Mm.
are like the happiest people I know, other than me, maybe. And interestingly, now, because there are 7 of them, and the husband is the real bread earner while she's going to school so that she can then have a good career. Um, but so money is tight, and they're in a pretty little house, and they have to be
Mhm.
really creative around birthday time and holiday time and whatever to be able to make that budget stretch far enough to really make a celebration. Sounds
Mhm.
like the household I grew up in.
Yeah.
Short on funds, long on love,
Mm.
and I couldn't be happier for her. The transformation was so tremendous when she just learned that, you can see the good or you can see the bad. And
Yeah.
you can let yourself, of course, bad exists. I'm not denying, I'm not into like toxic positivity,
Positivity.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Bad exists in the world. Right now, look at what's going on in Ukraine. And in Brooklyn. And
Mhm.
bad exists, evil exists, hardship exists,
Mhm.
but so does the good. So does the love. So does the abundance exist. So does opportunity exist. And you
Mhm.
have a choice of which one you're going to focus on, and so I always talk about how happiness is a choice. And I've had people come back and say, well, yeah, except that, there are people who are clinically depressed yeah, I know mental illness also exists, but there's help for people with mental illness.
Yes.
That's still a choice.
Still a
You either
choice.
take it or you don't,
That's
right?
right. That's
There's
right.
help. And I know it's a struggle. I know I have many people in my life who I love who suffer from various different kinds of mental illness. But
Mhm.
I can tell you that you still have so much choice in how you deal with it, how you respond to it, the choices that you make. I've got a young client that just left a job that he hated, and
Mhm.
um, and and he has some mental health issues, and he has been to doctors, and he's got the prescriptions, he's got the medication to take, got a job he absolutely loves, except one day within his first month, he was feeling so good he didn't take his meds,
Oh, no.
and he went to work and he had a horrible day
Yeah.
because he wasn't able to cope, and he was still on the learning curve of having a new job, and it was pretty
Sure.
overwhelming for him. And
Sure.
first thing I said was, did you take your meds today?
Mm.
No. Okay, well, you know what? Tomorrow do it. And every day do it. Um,
Mhm.
because that's making a difference for you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
yesterday he posted something on Facebook that this is such a turnaround for him in like 3 months that we've worked together. I think it's about 3 months. Um, he he posted just a post that said, I love you. There's nothing wrong. I just don't think people, not to me, to everybody on his feed. I
Yeah.
love you. Don't worry. There's nothing wrong on my end. I just don't think people say that often enough. I'm like,
Mhm.
who is this guy? This is
That's beautiful.
not the very sad, very
Yeah.
stressed person that I've known for many years that now I've been coaching.
Mhm.
Um, it's not And it's not that I'm the world's greatest coach. It's that coaching works. It's
Mhm.
that, I've learned a lot in my life,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I'm able to pass that information on
Mhm.
to other people. And that's why this is my path.
Well, that's what makes it all the more powerful, right? That you are taking the wisdom that you've learned through your own lived experiences and you're able to alchemize it in a way that you can coach other people who are looking for some of the same things that you mentioned. And I love this idea of choosing happiness, right? That it is a choice and that grounding it in gratitude is I love that practice of just having that awareness that there are things to be grateful for, and maybe it is just one thing, but
Right.
I mean, we're here, right? That it is that
Right.
what
You
beautiful
woke up
world.
today. Yeah,
Yeah, there it is.
exactly.
Mhm, mhm.
Exactly. They don't all, not every miracle is the parting of the Red Sea,
Right, right,
right?
right.
Sometimes the miracle is I woke up today.
Yeah.
Sometimes the miracle is I have a roof over my head.
Mhm, mhm.
In the last year was my year of I choose to create a life I love. I traded in a beautiful 100-year-old house that I love very much. It was a wonderful house for me when it was a wonderful house for me. But it also, my knees aren't so hot right now,
Mhm.
and I had to climb 7 stairs to get in the front door and 7 stairs to
Mm,
get out the front door. The same thing with the back door. So it wasn't great for me. And the neighborhood had
mm.
shifted a bit, and I
Mhm.
was kind of tired of playing the game gunshots or fireworks. Huh.
Oh, dear.
Um, Often.
Yeah.
And so, it was just time to go. And then
Mhm.
the real estate market started to explode, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to take advantage of this. And I, I downsized in this move. So I decluttered a lot
Wow.
and, let go of a lot of stuff and fixed the
Mhm,
house up and got it on the market and started looking for what, I felt like I could afford.
mhm.
Um, because not only are the sale prices going up, but the purchase prices are going up at the same time, right? And I looked at it. I thought, I want a place with no stairs. I want a place with. I've got my sweet dog Sparkle. I want a place where she can run outside. I want, and I'm tired of doing yard work, so I think I want to do a condo, and I want a better neighborhood. Okay, yeah, that's not going to cost anything. But I looked at like maybe 100 places, and I found this place that I'm in. You can see all the light coming in from
Yeah,
behind me, right?
beautiful.
They have
Mhm.
5 sets of sliding glass doors in this little condo. Um, the energy is so amazing.
Mm.
And it's got, not only is it, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms that I want, but it does have all this amazing energy. It has a screened in porch,
Mm.
and it has a private patio, and it has a private yard for less than a lot of the places I looked at.
Wow.
And it's unique enough that my agent and I have dubbed it the unicorn. So, I choose to create a life I love. And when
Yeah.
I was doing my search, I would do visualization, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I almost saw this place. I mean, I saw so much of what is here,
Yeah.
including being able to, in the good weather, like leave one of the doors open so that Sparkle can come and go
Mm.
into the private yard.
Mhm.
Condos don't come with private yards. This one does. There
Love
are
it.
20 units in this place. I'm the only one who has all three, the screened in porch, the private patio, and the private yard.
Yard.
I'm the
Wow.
only one out of 20 units that has that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is good information for me. As I've been visualizing, we want to, I would say, I guess, upgrade. Yeah, we want to upgrade, because we're hoping to have another baby in the next year,
Uh-huh.
and
Right,
our little duplex can't handle another child. So,
right.
this is good. This is good. Food for thought as I'm visualizing the dream house. So, thank you for
Well,
sharing.
you're welcome. So the rest of that story, this is really good too. So I saw the place actually before I was quite ready to put my house on the market. I was close. I was like a few weeks away.
Mhm.
Um, but it was early. And I saw it and I was like, oh, doggone it. I know this place is not going to stay on the market very long.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I said to my agent, who was pretty new, I said, but I I know I used to sell real estate once upon a time. I know that contracts fall apart all the time. And I know this is my place. I know it is. So we're going to stay in touch with the seller's agent. And when this contract, because it did go under contract within a couple of days, when this contract falls
Falls through.
apart, and it will, then we're going to swoop in and get it. She's like, okay. Um, well, so I keep moving on the house. I keep working on the other house. And when I was about a week away from putting it on the market,
Mhm.
the contract fell through. And and the agent said they were going to put it on the, back listed the next day. I said, we can't let them list it. And so here's what we're going to do. I don't have, at that point, I had like no money to put down as a deposit, an earnest money deposit. And I knew that the contract that fell apart, that person had put $35,000 down as earnest money.
Mhm.
Okay, no, that I put everything I have into the house I'm going to sell. So I
Mhm.
said, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to say, I'm going to write him a letter. We're going to put an offer in. I'm going to say, I fell in love with your place too soon. I'm a week away from listing my house. I guarantee you it will happen. And I will send you personal references who will also say, I am
Great.
an ethical person who's good to my word.
Mhm.
And we're going to offer them full asking price. And my agent said, well, let's not put every dollar on the table. Let's, give him a little less, but more than what that other contract was for.
Sure.
And so that's what we did. And he said he wanted to meet me.
Mhm.
I I emailed like six of my longest, closest friends,
Mhm.
um, and they all and the one and the longest and the closest and the ones with the most varied and impressive titles, right?
Yep. There you go.
And said, would you write me a personal reference? If you ever want to feel good about yourself, ask your besties to write a personal reference. I cried for 2 days as these
Oh, beautiful.
great emails are hitting my inbox. I'm like, oh, she
So
loves
nice.
me. And I'm hearing things about myself that I don't even realize I'm putting out there in the world.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it was so great. And I took this little package of really just positivity and
Mm.
knowledge that this is my place. I know it is. I looked at like 100 places. This is it. And
Mhm.
he said, okay,
All right. Well, there you
okay. So there you go. Yeah. Again,
wow.
it's like you gotta be laser focused sometimes to
Yeah.
create this life that you
Mhm.
love.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you have to be willing to go out on a limb, and you have to maybe be willing to somehow entice the other person to come out on the limb with me.
Mm.
Come out on the
Mm.
limb with me. I know I can't give you any money right now, but I promise you I'll give you money in, 30 days, right?
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, goodness, so many great stories of, first of all, the client transformations that you've witnessed in their work with you. And then, yeah, these, this example of, you mentioned the focus, the energy, the reaching out to your community to advocate for you, right? And
Right?
to being strategic with that as well. Such beautiful reminders. And you mentioned, this beautiful, package of things that was able to land you that beautiful dream house. Speaking
And
of
what a
like,
bonus that, that I got to hear how I'm showing up in the world.
yeah. And what a
And it
beautiful
was,
reminder. Yeah.
yeah, and it was in a much better way
Mm,
than that angry young woman in Los Angeles was showing up in the world.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
was much more in keeping with who I am.
Sure. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So, how can folks find you if folks are maybe not quite angry woman in LA, or maybe they are, where can folks find you? What are some of the services and offers that you provide so that folks in the community can get plugged in?
Well, you can find the easiest way to find me really is on Facebook.
Okay.
My coaching practice is called Your Turn to Shine. So I have a page for that. So just go to Facebook, Your Turn to Shine, and you will find me.
Perfect.
You can There's a lot of content on there. I have some little coaching 5-minute maybe videos on there. And I don't like doing yard work. Somebody's doing it for me, but in the middle of a podcast now. But anyway, um, uh, so yeah, you'll find all of that on there, and you can just hit me up with a message on Messenger through the Facebook
Wonderful.
page. You can also drop me an email, Your Turn to Shine
Okay.
the number one at
Mhm,
Gmail,
mhm.
and I'll get that. And I I do want to let your listeners know that that values conversation thing that I was
Mhm,
talking about. Like
mhm.
if somebody hits me up and tells me that they heard about it here,
Yeah.
I'll give them the values conversation. I'll do it
Wow.
for free. And
Oh my
then,
goodness.
if you think you got value from it and you think you would like to continue coaching with me, fabulous. If you think you got value from it and you think that's all you need, fabulous. But it's my gift to you, and I have not yet met anyone who didn't get something from it. So yeah,
Wow. Well, that is just so incredibly generous, Christy. Thank you so much. And speaking of gratitude, which is what this, you shared your story. I'm so grateful that you were able to join us today and share your wealth of knowledge and wisdom and how you're able to persevere through so much and tap into your beautiful gifts and talents and intuition to make a lot of these amazing things come into fruition for you. And I'm excited to see what's next. And yeah, folks, get in that values conversation. I will certainly drop all those links, Christy, and your email into the show notes so that folks can find you easily there. And I
great.
just want to thank you again for spending time with us today. It was really powerful.
Thank you. My pleasure. I can't wait to see where you're going even
Oh,
further than where you are now too.
thank you
Yeah,
so
I'm
much.
uh, I'm I'm glad we've met.
Me
I'm
too.
happy
Me
that
too.
we've
I'm
met.
a
Yeah.
fellow theater
So
performer too. So many
I know.
similarities there. Wonderful, wonderful. So next time, I'm going to be talking with Lynn Marion next week, intuitive life coach. And she's going to talk about her journey as a coach and how to make transformations, listening to the soul whispers. So, again, that inner voice, that inner knowing, and how to tap into that inner guidance so that actually, very relevant to today's conversation, being able to take that one step at a time and without knowing where you're going to go next. So I think this conversation is certainly going to bleed into that amazing conversation next week. So again, thank you so much, Christy. Thank you all of you for supporting and listening in, and take care of each other. And we'll chat again next week. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.